family. The time jump
Corporation's
allows us to
bad.
be, we're finding our characters in a different spot, which I like it when a sequel does that. Like we're like their parents now. That is with not just one child, but a lot of them. And we're watching Jake be a father, which is a different version of him from the first movie, which I like. I like Jake a lot in this movie. I like him more in this movie than I do in the last one. Uh,
Me too.
this is just. I think Sam Worthington is really good here, and Neytiri is still a cool character, and Zoe Saldana is still really good. But the thing is, because we've added these children character and we're giving them a lot of screen time, and we're building out the world again because we shift environments, we have to build it out again and learn all this stuff again. We do lose. It becomes more of an ensemble, and I think Neytiri is unfortunately the character that gets the short end of the stick narratively in this movie. Zoe Saldana, like I said, great in the moments that she has, but she's my favorite character from the first movie, and she is so sidelined narratively here. We don't really have to. There's a solid chunk of the movie where we do not see her in that middle section. We barely get anything from her in that middle hour. Now, when the action kicks back up again at the end, she's awesome. But I think this movie does really miss her in the middle part of it, and I think that's part of why it's not quite as good as the first one for me.
I can agree with you there, and I mean, you can say it's because we're focusing on the kids, and we barely see Jake in those moments because the one thing he's doing to adapt to being a member of the Met Hyena is learning to ride one of their new, like, horse dragon things. But overall, Neytiri, she's written into the script like she's not needed, and she's really not for the narrative to progress because the narrative is about the children. It's about, Loak, who is our, mirror version of Jake, this outcast Navi kid learning to kind of be a different version of the Navi. And I think it's okay that she's not there. That being said, I do miss her character because their dynamic in the first movie is what makes you fall in love with these movies and what's going on this planet, because you fall in love with those characters, and Zoe Saldana is a phenomenal actress. That being said, she isn't. You're right, Zach. She's missed, but is she really needed? Because
When you have a good actress that can carry a movie on her own, yes, she is needed. And if you are not using her, I think that is a mistake on your part.
Yeah, I think she's
I
not.
honestly
Cole, you're right. She's not needed for this narrative that James Cameron has laid out. But I think that's the flaw: is that you didn't hinge the narrative on this strong of a character that you had.
you're Oscar-winning actress.
You hinged it instead.
Yes.
Even not really on Jake as much. You hinged it more on the children, which obviously you have Sigourney Weaver, and I don't know, that also becomes a question: is does Sigourney, I think Kiri's connection with Awa, that stuff's interesting. I'm curious about that, and I like all that. That's the cool weird stuff, that sci-fi Pandora planet stuff. I enjoy that. So like in a vacuum, I like it. It's just, is that stuff and the Loak stuff, is that as interesting as watching Jake and Neytiri's relationship as parents like deal with this change? That drama, probably not. But it's, you got to expand the world somehow. But someone gets the short end of the stick, and unfortunately, it's Neytiri. And even we're really only focusing on those middle two kids. Nataeum really doesn't get much to do as like a character, and that's why his death at the end, it makes sense. I was shocked by it. I'm glad they did it. That kind of, I don't.
It didn't make sense.
It does. It does make sense to kill him.
Okay, it does. I was gonna say that probably made the most sense that he was gonna die.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I was shocked by it. I didn't think they would do that. And I think I don't want to say saves the movie, because it still would have been a good movie without his death. But that is the thing that
Killing children. Okay, in Zach's
for movies, yeah, absolutely.
Purposely.
It really it did kind of kick the narrative up a lot more in the last bit there. I think that does add a lot of weight to the climax. So yeah, I'm glad they did. That was good. And then Took, she's a child, so we really can't do much with her either. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like we're expanding the world, but does that spread the more intimate personal narratives too thin? I don't know. I think that's probably why I'm not quite as invested in, the characters as I was in the first one, because we are focusing so much on Jake and Neytiri.